Thanks, guys. Thanks for being here, letting me be here. Y'all doing all right today?
Yeah.
Good. Wow, there's a bunch of you. Good. Listen, I want to encourage you guys, before I really get rolling here, man, do everything you do with strong purpose, even when you gather like this. It can get real easy to just get up and come because it's the right day and we're a part of this church, but I really want to encourage you to get up and come with purpose, meet with the Lord, just be excited to love somebody, encourage somebody, to let your light shine, and come here to hear from Him and look more like Him when you leave because you came. Don't just come to get something from God. Come to look more like Him. I really don't believe the intention with God was that we would gather to receive something from Him and what He can do for us. But I really believe the intention of the Lord was that He would make us more like Him. I really believe the gospel is all about the transformation of your life. And there wouldn't be phrases like putting off the old, putting on the new, the renewing of your mind. There's a renewing of our mind. The way that seems right to men is in Proverbs 14. And it says, that way leadeth to death. There's a way that you and I were trained to think, to feel, to act, to respond. The gospel has a whole lot to say about that and wants to make that difference. The Bible wants you to put those things off and put on the new. The Bible talks about the wisdom of the world and the wisdom of God, and there's extreme difference. Let's go to James chapter 3, would you? Just thanks for letting me be here. I appreciate the time. Thank you. James chapter 3, I want to look at something. Man, there's so many things we can do this morning in the time frame, but I want you encouraged. I want you walking out of here, not letting anything take the place of knowing Him. I'm serious. You can let ministry take the place of knowing Him. You let your church attendance take the place of knowing Him. We're called to know Him. Paul cried out that I might know Him. The greatest thing in a man or a woman's life is when they have God reality, not theology. When God becomes real. You're going to see passion in me. It's already there. I try to keep a little cool so I don't freak people out that don't know me. But I don't have a doctrine. I know Him, and He loves me. And we've been together for 17 years now, and we're closer now than ever before. And I'm not burning out. I'm getting brighter. Next time you see me, I'll be like this or a little worse. Because I'm going to know Him a little bit more, because we're in union and communion together. Life no longer has the power to define me. Circumstances don't eat my lunch. When you squeeze me, what's inside of me will come out. Look, when you squeeze an orange, you expect orange juice. If it was apple juice, that would be weird. You don't squeeze an orange and get apple juice. Why is it weird when you squeeze a Christian and get everything but Christ? That should be weird. What it proves is we don't understand who we are and why. And we've let the world train us very well. But Jesus wants to re-instruct us on life. He's the model. He said, follow me. He didn't just say, sing to me. He said, follow me. If He said, follow me, Richard, then the power of the Spirit of God is willing and able to allow us to and help us to. All we have to do is be willing. Willing what? To lay down our old life, to die to ourselves, to surrender what we thought was, so that what is can become. Jesus never said, pray a prayer to go to heaven. He said, deny yourself. Why? You were never made for you. You were made for the image of God. You were made for the love of God. You were made to so let your light shine that men would see there's a God because you're alive. You weren't just called to go to church. You weren't just called to attend youth group. You weren't just called to better read my Bible. I'm a Christian. You're called to know Him. And He has known us from the beginning. Because there's a time to be born, and before time He saw your day. And He predestined you before time to be sons and daughters through Christ. Ephesians 1 tells us that. Your life's not an accident. That's impossible. The only reason we think our life's not worth living because life has defined our value. But the cross defines our value because nobody pays such a high, ridiculous price for nothing. And your life is worth living in Him. He knows who you are, people. And He knows that His life given is worth your life lived. He knows that dying on the cross is worth getting you raised from the dead. He knows that you're sons and daughters from the beginning. And He knows that if He restores that truth, He can reveal Himself to the world through us. That's why He calls us His body. We're not called to just attend a church. We're not called to just try to do right. We're called to be like Him and look like Him and walk like Him and think like Him. And most of all, love like Him. Guys, I promise you, The days of anger and frustration, bitterness and jealousy are over for me forever. Over. You say, well, but you're going to have your moments. You're wrong. The reason you have your moments is because you believe that. I have what I believe. And I believe Christ in me is the hope of glory. And if I yield to the truth of who He is, the grace of who He is will live through my life. And all of a sudden love motivates me, and I don't need you, I love you. And all of a sudden you can't fail my expectations because I don't have any on your shoulders. Because my life's complete in Him, and love has made me complete. And to know the love of Christ which passes knowledge is to be filled with all the fullness of God. So I'm lacking no good thing. It's the Father's good pleasure to give me the kingdom. I read the book. I believe it. Yay! That sure beats letting life bother you. That sure beats letting one person do one wrong thing and it eats your lunch for 10 years. Surely the gospel is greater than that, people. Surely the gospel is greater than the divorce you went through. Greater than the adultery they committed. Greater than the son that went away. Greater than the tragedy that happened. Surely the gospel should speak louder than life. Come on, I'm really serious and you can tell. I didn't come here to pacify the gospel. Jesus is Lord and He died on the cross for a reason. To put the integrity and the power of who He is inside of our spirit. Not so we sing songs and feel fuzzy. That's not what we did this morning. I'm not condemning this morning. I'm saying so we know Him and bear witness of Him in life. And nothing bothers us but Him. It's so easy to let circumstances tell you who you are. It's so easy to let people define you. It's so easy to just let the boss that doesn't treat you well dictate your days. And the best Christian prayer you can pray is, I thought you loved me. Why do you let Him spew on me? If you love me this way, God, you need to change Him. And all of a sudden you're feeling sorry for yourself and your prayers are pity and you don't even understand your place in your boss's life. It's to overcome evil with good. It's to let mercy triumph over judgment. It's to make peace with all men and recognize He's not your enemy. Because if your boss knew who he was, he wouldn't treat you that way. If he knew who you were, he surely would. He's lost and deceived. He's not your problem. He needs salvation. You following me? If you're not careful, He dictates your disposition. He dictates your attitudes. You go home, how was your day, honey? Oh, it would have been better if it wasn't for him. Don't you let any man rule who you are but one man. And His name is Jesus Christ. For Corinthians says that He has become the wisdom of God for us. And the way that seems right to a man must be destroyed in our lives. You have every reason to be full of joy. Yeah, but you don't know what I've been through. What has He been through? And why has He been through what He's been through? To put who He is inside of you. Not to take you where He's at. To put who He is inside of you. He didn't die to take you to heaven. He died to put heaven back inside of you. We're waiting to go to heaven. Heaven's here. He said, go preach saying the kingdom of God is here. How do you do that? By walking in love. By making peace and showing mercy. And subduing the earth through His righteousness. Yay. Yet we're offended, frustrated, hurt, but we go to church, sing the right songs, and we honor Jesus and realize our need for a Savior, but we misunderstand that the whole purpose of the cross isn't to take us to heaven, it's to transform our lives. The cross of Christ isn't fulfilled when a man prays a prayer to get his name in a book. The cross of Christ is fulfilled when his nature is changed back to love. The dividends of the investment of the blood of the Son of God are paid in full when a man's life is transformed, each seed after its own kind. We are here to be like Him. Romans 8 says, predestined to the image, to be conformed to the image of His Son. I'm telling you, challenge yourself today. The days of anger, frustration, gossip, bitterness, comparison, jealousy. God didn't make us that way. We became that way when man ate the tree. And we were all born into that lie, and we must be born again. And old things pass away, and all things become new. We put off the old and put on the new man who's created in the image of God. Colossians 3 says He's renewed in knowledge. This new man, He's renewed in knowledge. This says don't lie to one another. Why? Because we put off the old man and we put on the new, who's renewed in knowledge according to the image of Him who created us. What did He say in the beginning? Let us make man in our image, and in the likeness of God He made man. We so relate to the flesh. We so relate to the fears and the jealousy and the anger that we grew up with. Come on, we were all born into identity crisis, because the day Adam ate the tree, the image of God died. The security of who he was died. Man got lost, and he's been in the rat race of trying to find himself ever since. So he looks for love in all the wrong places, esteem, honor, reputation. But the Son of God comes and makes himself of no reputation, lays down his life, and serves. We have it way backwards. We have to be careful that we don't go to church and miss this vital point. We have to be careful that we don't pray his name and miss this vital point. We have to be very careful that we don't react the same in life as people that don't go to church. Because we are the lights of the world. We are a city set on a hill to be seen. We are not basket-headed Christians. We are not hiding under a bed. We are out exposed in the light and not afraid to love. We don't have boundaries. We don't have afraid you're going to break my trust. Why? Because we love. We're not waiting to be hurt. We love. We're not waiting to be offended. We love. We're not protecting ourselves. He's our defense. It's love. You guys follow me? Yeah. You okay? Good. It would be a shame if you're not at least a little okay, because I'm doing really well. So, I was just hoping you're a little okay. Because I'm going to remain well. The next time you see me, I'm going to be amazing. Serious. I've been saved 17 years. I'm getting worse, I promise you. And it's not that I haven't experienced life. Come on, we've all encountered them. Peter said, don't you take things personal and think it's strange. And don't you get all caught up in what you're going through and take it all. Because your brothers in the earth are going through the same things you are. Understand that it's in the midst of the fire, it's in the midst of the pressure that you manifest Christ. When people are doing you wrong, it's not time to hurt, it's time to look like Jesus was. It's time to overcome evil with good. It's time to give. To pray for those who persecute you. Give to those who despitefully use you. Come on, it's not time to get an attitude. It's not time to gossip. It's not time to get on Facebook and bash somebody. It's time to bring out the best. It's time to speak life. It's time to cover a multitude of sins with love like Jesus did on the cross. Forgive them, Father. They don't know what they do. If men knew who they were, they wouldn't live the way they live. If men knew the value of their life, they wouldn't say the things they say and act the way they act. The revealing of the sin that's all around us should reveal to us men are blind, and we ought to follow Jesus, not follow men. And we ought to do the same thing he did, because greater love hath no man than this. He laid down his life for others, not get offended by others. I promise you today would be a good day to throw away the right to be anything less than love. Jesus said, if any man come after me, deny himself. Pick up your cross and follow me. He didn't say sing songs to me and pray in my name. He said, follow me by picking up your cross. Taxiing through every injustice, every unfairness. The last man on earth that would ever deserve to die. And yet he laid down his life to send the message of love so other men might be saved. He didn't seek to save himself. But the Pharisees said, come on. He said to the Son of God, well, he saved others, save yourself. See, we don't get it. The world's wisdom doesn't understand. He wasn't there to save himself. He's there to save them. He's not about to come down. Because it's not about him. It's about them. I'll stay right here, thank you, and one day you'll see. And love will penetrate your heart. Yeah. He died and rose from the dead, and now his mighty spirit's on the earth. He happens to live inside of me. Do you get it? You ought to have a good day, because the angel said it's good tidings of great joy. The only reason we don't have great joy is life's speaking louder than truth. This gospel is for the believer and the man of faith. Not the one that's steely, yeah, but you don't know, but life is tough. I understand life is full of challenges. Come on, I went home one day and found out my wife was on life support in a coma with severe brain damage. And if you saw me pumping gas that day, you'd have saw this right here. I didn't even know how to freak out. The gospel taught me how not to even be afraid. Why? Because that doesn't determine anything. That doesn't dictate my life. It's not time to question God. It's time to be like God. I had the great privilege of walking in the room with no fear. I didn't even know how to fear. When I got the phone call, I didn't even know how to go, she what? Oh my God. I said, well, thank you, doctor, for your phone call and everything you're doing to help my wife. I said, listen, now's not the time for me to get a medical education. That's what you went to school for. Now it's time for me to do what I've been trained for. I'll be in a moment. Well, what is that, sir? I'm going to pray for her, and the glory of God's going to come upon her body, and he's going to make her whole. Because it's your destiny to live long and prosper. Well, sir, I have to face reality, and I have to, sir, you missed everything I said. I'll be in a moment. See, you weren't in my shoes, but I was. And I didn't freak out in fear and then pray. All I see is Jesus. I had the great privilege of watching my wife wake up with no brain damage. I kissed her goodbye on the way here. It's a good day in the Lord. My 14-year-old son cried in the hospital hallway, uncontrollably. Who's 14 here? Anybody? 14. Be honest. I'm not going to put you on the spot. When you're 14, you're aware of life around you. When you're 14, you're already thinking what people are thinking. You're trying to be a certain way. It's way before 14. So my son's 14. I'm proving a point here. We get out in the hospital hall, and he falls apart after we prayed for Mom. Because she's laying there sucking on the tube. Come on, I'm being real. It doesn't even hardly look like her. She's swelled. Her eyes are bulged. And the machine's keeping her alive. It's real! And I walked in there and I popped her eyes open and said, "Hey girl, your boys are here to see you. You've been in this now way too long. We come to get you out." My son's just looking. I didn't know why I was acting that way. It was for him. God loves him. God knows what he's going through. He's 14. He wasn't prepared. He didn't have a house built. He wasn't ready for the trial. See, that's what we do. We wait till the trial hits and then we press into God. No, you press into God, and when the trial hits, the gospel will defend you. Take account of every day. You make every day count. And you get to know God, so when trials come, you know exactly how to respond. You're not trying to get strong just because your marriage is getting weak. No, you get strong and you let strength live all around you. My son's looking, and I realized God was loving my 14-year-old. And I said, "You're getting out of this nap." We just stopped at the store and grabbed a couple things, and it was pitiful. He thinks I'm ironing a shirt tomorrow. I know you're waking up. I was just being me and having fun. But the reality is she's in a coma. The reality is she has brain damage. The reality is Jesus is Lord, and wonder if I do believe that. We prayed over her for 20 seconds. Walked out of the room. I looked at my son. "You ready to go, bud? We did what we came for. Look at me, boy. Your mama's going to be fine." See, that's where we live in the central. We live in the rational. We live in the natural. Your Bible says not to live there, but we live there. "Yeah, but I feel. Yeah, but it seems. Yeah, but I..." Come on! Yabba, dabba do. I don't know. I just know Jesus. We get out in the hall, my 14-year-old son bursts out in tears. I thought as a daddy that the picture of his mother overwhelmed me. I thought he was freaking out because he saw Mom like that and he couldn't take it, and he waited till the hall and he fell apart. That's what I thought. So I was just going to be there to hold him together. You might not agree with the way I parent. I'm not asking you to. But when we got the phone call, he heard me on the phone. He was in the kitchen and said, "What is it, Dad?" And when I told him, tears filled his eyes, and I looked and I said, "What are you doing, buddy?" Tears have definition, and I see your definition of tears, and those tears will never, ever get your mama out of bed. Don't you cry as if Jesus isn't Lord, and don't you cry as if all you can do is lose, because all we can do is win. Even if we lose Mama, we still win, because Jesus sheds blood that lasts forever. The only thing we lose is temporal, physical time, and we're going to make the most of it because it counts. We're not going to be hurt, broken, and wondering why God took our mother and wife, and we're not going to live forlorn the rest of our life. We're going to make every day count all the more, because life is fragile and life is short. So why not leave a legacy? Yeah. Are you guys listening?
Yeah.
Is it too much, or are you understanding?
Yeah.
Because I live this way. Can you tell I'm not afraid? I might look arrogant to you. It's not that. I'm confident. I've been in the fire. And guess what? He's the fourth man in there.
Yeah.
It's not a Bible story to me. Look, you take us into children's church. Who grew up in Sunday schools? And they teach you all these radical, mind-blowing stories when you're little kids, and you go, wow. And then when you're in life and in situations at an older age where you need to believe those and apply those, you say, "Well, brother, you got to use wisdom. Well, brother, you got to face reality. Well, you know." Well, you're talking to the wrong fellow. Shouldn't have told me those stories in Sunday school. My boy's bawling. I said, "It's okay, bud." I said, "Mama's going to be fine. It's okay." And I held him and I was compassionate. He said, "That's not why I'm crying. I'm not crying because of Mom." I mean, he's freaking out. "I'm not crying because of Mom." He's in the hall of a hospital. He doesn't even care who's around. He's undone. You get the picture? And I'm like, okay, I have no discernment here. He's pointing at me and he looks frustrated, overwhelmed, bags of emotion. He's like, "It's not because of Mom. There's a difference between you and me. A big difference between you and me." I said, son, there is no difference between you and me. We both have the kingdom. No! There's a difference! You don't see what I see, and I don't see what you see! And he fell in the involved. I held him, and I said, I see Jesus. I see Jesus. And I took his chin and tipped it, and I said, you can see him too. Keep growing close to him. Give yourself to him. Pray to him. Get to know him. And when these things rise up, all you can see is him. Ooh, so I took him home, dropped him off. Shortly after I walked back into the hospital, about an hour and a half after we were there, my wife just supernaturally opened her eyes. And when they ran the brain scan, she's completely normal. No one can explain it. And the doctor cried and hugged me and said, I've never seen a recovery in my whole medical profession of this magnitude. This is God. I'm not being rude. I could have been a mess. I could have worn on my sleeve. I could have followed 17 other ministries and got the whole world praying. And call that faith. Or I could know him and not be afraid. Because my king said, fear not. My king said, do not worry. And the first two things we do in life is fear and worry, and then we pray and prove we really don't know him. And it's still about us instead of Christ in us. Don't you ever please make the mistake of incorporating the gospel in your life for your sake. It's for his name's sake. And made for his image. The days of grumbling and complaining and animosity should be over for the Christian, because life is a gift. And Christ has come while we were guilty to save the ungodly, to make us godly, so we can once again be his sons and reveal the very reason we're on this planet. You guys getting this? I turned you to James. It's still there. We probably ought to read it. Verse 13, who is wise and understanding among you, let him show by the good conduct of his life that his works are done in the meekness of wisdom. But if you have bitter envy and self-seeking in your heart, just listen to me, self-seeking in your heart. This is intense. Look, love is amazing. Love is patient. Love is kind. We know the scriptures, but listen, it doesn't take an account of a suffered wrong. Why? Because it doesn't seek its own. Love isn't, I love you. Do you love me? Love is, I love you. Period. It's not, I love you for me. I love you for how you make me feel. I love you for what you do for me. I love you. Couldn't live without you. It's weird. It's twisted, but it's what we all grew up with. Love is, I love you. Come hell or high water, I will never change my mind about you. Why when somebody makes a bad mistake in a marriage do we get hurt and fall apart when they're the one that's really in trouble? Because if they're making a bad mistake, they have a real darkness going on in their heart and soul, and they need real help. Why are we busy crying because of them instead of crying for them? Why is the church ostracizing and getting offended and hurt and cutting people off? God didn't cut you off. God put his spirit in you while you were yet a sinner and paid the price and sent his son. Come on, get real with me, church. Sister Sally, the sweetest thing that ever was in the church. She walks by flowers and they bloom, you know. And then this guy treats her wrong and we're mad at the guy because she's so sweet and we take it sentimentally. And why does he have to treat her like that? He's such a jerk. And the only reason we pray for him is because he's a knucklehead. And we're sentimentally touching Sally. We're so sorry, honey. I can't believe he did that to you. And we're giving her permission to be broken instead of teaching her the heart of love. Why? Because we carry pain. We carry hurt. We carry offense. We're not supposed to. Jesus didn't. It shouldn't be in us because all things are new. We're free. We're healed. We're clean. Come on. Yeah. I can cry with you for about 20 seconds and show you that I care. Then I'm going to tell you, come on. This is all about him. Don't you let what they did define you. Don't you let them begin to sculpt you and potter you because you won't be the masterpiece because you're in the wrong hands. He's the master potter. They're just a potter. Come on, are you guys all right? I'm just cheering you on. I got a couple of minutes. There's no selfishness in love, and there's no love in selfishness. Did you have to think about that? Love isn't selfish. That's why it takes no account of the suffer wrong. When you're angry, frustrated, and full of strife, why? Because selfishness is in action. And you're willing at the cost of the value of another person to have the need to be so right and cast your opinion that you're willing to have animosity and cut somebody down. You can make love with your spouse, we call it, at nighttime and curse each other tomorrow afternoon. It's crazy. And we've got to stop it. And we've got to realize it's the world and it's not true. And it takes one person to grab a hold of what I believe in a relationship and what I'm preaching to you right now. To bring peace and love into a family. My wife went in a tailspin for 6 years and lost her identity because she judged me and her together and said people only liked her because they loved me. And she lost her identity through one little lie. For 6 years, and I'm ministering, pastoring, traveling. I'm not a broken man. I'm not a hurt man. I'm not, honey, you need to get with it. You're dead weight. When are you going to get a grip? Come on, you're putting a lot of pressure on me. Are you kidding me? It's never been about me. It's about Jesus. All I have for her is love and compassion and understanding. And I'm going to watch God pull her out of this thing. And He did. She's awesome. You following me? Oh, brother, I don't know how long you're supposed to do this. Maybe God didn't hook you up with her in the first place. Stop that! Love! Oh, find a way out. Love! Well, maybe I shouldn't have created them. Maybe they really weren't a good idea. Maybe I should just let them all die. Can you picture God saying that? But don't picture yourself thinking it because you're made for His image. Look, I didn't know I was going to get this intense this morning, but it's just where we're at. Don't do yourself injustice. Don't you put on a form of something without becoming it. Don't let what you do become who you are. Let who you are dictate what you do. And who you are sons and daughters of God, made righteous in His sight. Watch this. Who is wise? Who really knows what they're talking about? Well, let them prove it by their life. That their works are done in the meekness of wisdom. But if you have envy and selfishness in your heart, come on, don't boast and lie against the truth. What it means is deal with your heart and make change and get things straight. Don't just live with selfishness and call it Christianity. Don't just live with strife and animosity and say it's okay. Challenge that stuff in your life and say, wait a minute, that isn't in your heart, God, and it's not to be in my heart. The Bible doesn't say that manage anger. It says put it off. Why? Because you're not made for anger. You're made for peace and you're made for love. Anger is just normal because we were born into it and grew up with it, but we're born again and we put it off, so let's put on the new. You get it? Come on. I want you so convicted when you leave here today. I don't want you to have the ability to fight in the car over where you're going to eat. Well, you get your way all the time. Well, you ate there last week and I want to eat somewhere else. But we just lifted hands in worship and just said, God is good, God is great. Well, you make me so mad. Well, you always got to have your way. What are we doing? We're proclaiming Him and following lies. We're proclaiming Him and hanging out in the fall. Let's get redeemed and get reborn, guys. And let's make sure that stuff never happens. Don't you let strife in your home. You be a peacemaker. I don't care if you live with the angriest person on the world. You can still be like Christ. Don't you let them be your excuse for being less than God. What are you going to stand there in that day and look in His fiery eyes of light and try to say, I'd have believed you if it wasn't for them, and make them Lord instead of the one you're talking to? You have no ability to get me to miss them. God is amazing. You can mistreat me, you can treat me unjust. I am going to love you. In fact, I tell people, if you're not ready for change, don't do me wrong. Because I won't get mad at you. I will love you. When nobody's looking, I'll cry for you from all the right places. Holy Spirit will come and get you in the middle of the night. I'll tell you. Don't do me wrong if you're not ready for change. Because I won't cry because of you. I'll cry for you. And love will reach the throne of God. And God's grace will reach out and touch you through my priestly role. And He will convert your heart. I'm telling you, He'll come and get you. Because I won't say, God, you need to change them. You need to knock them off their hind horse. God, they make me feel they're so boastful. Why do you let them live like that? God, when are you going to change them? He's thinking, when are you going to let me change you? A lady came to my pastor and said, please, you got to pray with me for my husband. He's just become so, he just knows how to push every one of my buttons, and he does it on purpose, and he knows just how to orchestrate things to get a rise out of me and push my buttons. And we got to pray that God change that, because he's put so much pressure on our marriage, and he just knows the way to get me going and push those buttons. And I just need you to pray that my husband would change. And my pastor's a good pastor, and he said, well, honey, I have a better idea. How can we get together and pray that you have no more buttons? See, because if you don't change that perspective, you're where you're at because of someone else. And someone else is always your excuse for not living by faith. And you make people Lord instead of the gospel. Are you guys following me? Yeah. All of a sudden I'm not okay because of so-and-so? Come on, how lame is that? Then Jesus wouldn't have been okay. Well, they tried to kill me when I preached, Lord. I tried to preach and they pushed me off a cliff. God, I ain't preaching no more. I love my own life. God forbid you send me back out there. Them people are crazy. They don't appreciate me. Could you see Jesus going up the hill carrying the cross and just finally saying, duh, what am I doing? I had enough. Barabbas, are you kidding me? That sounds too much. Come on, I've done nothing but good. I've healed the sick. I've loved everybody. I've made everybody free. I've never taught. All I've done is speak truth and walk in love. And the best you can do is beat me and whip me and talk bad about me and make me carry this curse up on a hill. Come on, if you didn't change by now, you'll never change. God, how do we know we can even trust them? I'm done, God. I'm not doing this. They're not worth it. They're just a bunch of losers. Come on, he would be so justified in a court of law. You can't even imagine him talking like that because we painted the picture of Jesus through the Word. But you shouldn't imagine you talking like that because you're made in His image. The world taught you to think that way. Jesus came and modeled the life you were designed for, and He said, follow me. I got to quit. I'm done. No, I'm done. It's only because of time. I'm not done.